Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this webinar conducted on small business recovery and transformation, um, which is which I hope will truly be an insightful one that the Chamber is organizing in collaboration with Facebook, ICTA, and Fusion as well. We were expecting the State Minister of some would be household economy, microfinance, self-development, business development, and underutilized state resources development. Honorable Shah Singh to join. While we wait for him to join in momentarily, we will nonetheless commence our webinar this morning. We have a lineup of speakers from both the policy level, from a platform level, and also from a practitioner's point of view as well. So how we'll go about the next 60 minutes is we'll have maybe introductory remarks from each of them, providing their particular point of view from where they're coming on in terms of the recovery process in this pandemic, and then get into a Q&A. So feel free to drop in your questions into the chat box at any point, and then we take that up towards the end of our conversation. And for those, and please keep your cameras as well as your mics on mute so that you don't interrupt any of the speakers, but you can raise your point through the chat box at any time. So with that, we have today, in addition to the Minister, we have Honorary Alves, who is the Chief Digital Economy Officer at ICTA. We have Selina Piris, who is the Business Development Director at Celine, and Dr. Yasas Abe Vikrama, who is the Policy Programs Manager at Facebook. So with that, let me first invite Anura to commence his opening remarks.
Can you hear me clearly, Shiraj?
Yes, can hear you, Anura. You're good to go.
Right, I'm actually having some technical issues, but trying to somehow stay on. So thank you so much. And first of all, welcome all of you, including the Honorable Minister and all the other colleagues on this call. So in terms of my opening remarks, I wanted to highlight a few things onto this in terms of digital economy that we drive from ICTA point of view, very much connected to Ministry of Technology as well as the other relevant ministries. Now, in the digital economy, we focus on multiple areas and basically 5 areas. Speaking out loud, that one is the industry development. So, industry development encompasses small, medium scale, all the existing businesses, particularly into the technology segment. The startup ecosystem focus on, in brief, all the startups and brand new companies that are coming up in the startup scale. Then we have something called tech diffusion, which is very much connected to SMEs, because tech diffusion's focus is that how do we take and infuse technology into non-technological businesses, and that is basically use of agri-tech type of IoT type of things, or even doing business, via social media type of technologies. Shiraj, just double check on that. Do you hear me?
Yeah, Anura, we can hear you. You're clear.
There was some comments, so I thought. The technology diffusion is very important part of the SMEs, because most of the SMEs today, whether it's going to be IT system or a technology like bio, nanotechnology, if it is relevant, we are lacking in Sri Lanka. So we are focusing heavily on how do we take these developed technologies, whether it's local or imported, to those SMEs. The fourth area is capacity building, which is pretty much we are working on this particular topic on how do we enhance the performance and efficiency and productivity of small and medium scale businesses during the pandemic, and how to recover. The topic is very much relevant to our capacity building, because it has number of programs that we are engaging and working with Facebook and other social media partners to enhance and increase the productivity. That's a capacity building, and it also has the workforce generation for the country. Then finally, we have the regional cluster development that is also play a vital part in small and medium scale businesses in our agenda because a number of ways. First of all, it has the concept of technoparks that the ministry is driving, which is we call tier one technoparks that's owned and built by the hello, yeah, owned and built by the ministry and the ICT operate. The tier two technoparks are the ones that we work with the existing partners or partnerships where we enhance and provide them the facilities. I think someone has to mute your mic. Uh, and we basically enhance and increase the performance um, of the existing businesses. So in the tier one and it's the own ones, and tier two are the ones that I said now. That's actually really helpful for existing SMEs because if you're looking for facilitating government lobbying or ICTA help support facilitate, that comes through the tier two for the new businesses. Now, particularly to the topic today, how ICTA has aligned to support and accelerate small to medium large businesses is that number one we have launched with together with Facebook. I think Yasas will speak more about it. A program called Digital Saubhagya and working with the ministries as well. And through that, we actually helped a number of businesses, if I'm not mistaken, 150 uh, small, medium scale businesses to leverage their current potential using the social media, doing marketing, generation of sales. As you know, other countries, small to medium scale businesses operate on Facebook. I think Facebook for Sri Lanka mostly used for kind of social connectivity among the individuals. But you must understand that we have globally using these platforms to enhance the business. So we have very much used that within the Digital Saubhagya program work with Facebook, enhancing the businesses and developing and providing that marketplace for them. The second one is Suhurulia. Through that program also, we have worked with uh, a number of the women in the country who are doing business to support them, to support how to use social media and technologies. We have trained WDOs, that is Women Development Officers in the ministries, to support the rest of the women in the country to do their business using technology. So, we have trained the trainer program ran, and then we also helped the receiving parties, which are the women in business. Under the Suhru Liya program, we have trained them how to use social media to do business. We are not stopping there. The good news that I want to share is that we introduced an alternative credit framework. We are right now working with 6 banks. The idea is that the businesses in startup and scale up stage, how can we, the banks and the financial institutes can provide financial facility without the standard collateral process. So we work with the PwC and we came up with a model called credit assessment model that is now being used by 6 banks. I can name few of the banks: the Bank of Ceylon, Nation Trust, Union Bank, Ceylon. The other 2 banks are not in my head right now, and we are working with 3 other banks to accept this framework. By accepting this framework, we can provide more support to small to medium scale because without going through the standard collateral process, there's a different way of assessing the business performance and providing the loans. That's one thing that ICTA has been successful uh, very much in the last 3 months. The other one is we have worked with another assignment with the PwC to look at what are the impediments in this country that stop small, medium sized businesses acceleration. So we have identified 29 impediments in 14 departments or authorities, going from regulatory areas like imports of some of the items that are banned, but the startups or the scale up businesses want it. Or maybe some of the impediments are in registering companies, uh, working with the government authorities. So we are removing those 29 impediments. supporting government authorities, working very much close with the Deregulation Commission. So that is also another good news I want to share. I think this gives a foundational discussion where the ministry, Honorable Minister, you, as well as the Technology Ministry and ICT involved heavily in removing these impediments, providing the framework and use of the social media technologies to make our small to medium scale business successful. Because any nation has gone so far, developing economy, small, medium scale business played a pivotal, very, very critical role. Thanks, and over to you, Shira.
Thanks. Thanks, Andhra. Good to note some of the steps that ICTA is doing, collaborating with the ecosystem and also some of the programs rolling out. Is the State Minister on the call? Maybe we can have him next. No? Okay. Let's then move to Selena, if you're on the call. Yes, you are. Could we get your opening remarks?
I'm here.
Great.
I'm here.
Could we get your opening remarks from, in particular, in a practitioner's point of view, how the recovery and transformation has really been for you?
Yeah. So so good morning to everyone. Thank you for having me on the call. And I'm here, I think, not just as kind of a leadership of Celine Handlooms, which works with close to 1,000 artisans in the Kurunangal district. We are in the handloom sector, but I'm also here, I think, to give a voice to the SME sector at large. So I will keep my comments quite macro, although drawing from examples, obviously, from the case study that I'm part of, which is Celine. So as we discussed also in the preface, Shiran, I think what I will bring here is a story about how we use digital to pivot during the COVID crisis. So, and still the ongoing pandemic, actually. So in March and April last year, what we saw was, absolute lockdown. And we couldn't continue operations. Our factories have to be shut. And I think this is similar across the board, not just in the SME sector, but business at large across the world. And here is where, being a traditional company, a 30-year-old company, and a company that is not necessarily in the tech field, we're in the artisan craft business. We produce things manually with artisans. It's a very, very physical touch and feel operation. So it was a huge challenge for us to continue to survive during this time. And I think the key reason for our survival, one of the key reasons was our very, very fast adaptation to, well, technology. And let me explain. So in March last year, when our retail stores especially had to completely shut down, we couldn't move any of our export products. And until June last year, we didn't really get any export orders coming in. All the customers had told us to just hold on to shipments, etc. The only thing that kept us going was the production of masks. So we decided very fast, I think 2 weeks into the pandemic, that we will cut up our very valuable fabric to make PPEs, so fabric masks. And that was taken very well, because it was not just a plastic-free alternative, but it was also something locally produced, and it was really taken well by a lot of corporates and customers across. And the only way we could actually promote it, produce it, and also connect it to our customers was digitally. So our online shop luckily was up for us in January. We used Facebook, we used WhatsApp, we used Instagram to really promote our mask, although at that time, and I think it continues, Facebook wouldn't allow the boosting or the promotion of PPEs, I think rightfully, because it was a ethical concern around, promoting PPEs in that sense. But we use these platforms to promote our product and sell our product. which was absolutely vital because being based in Kurunegala, we had no access to the market at all. So creating this, so that was sending the product. But also, if you look at producing the product, because we were based in homes around around our vicinity, our workers were all based around us. We couldn't connect to them. So this is a challenge I think that we have to, as SMEs and business, really start reckoning with. How do we integrate technology to get closer to our people and to give them work even during this lockdown? So of course we just used mobile technology at that point, and it was a very physical kind of operation. Our production managers, I mean, they put themselves as great risk to go and give these people work. So this is a challenge that we are currently working on, to see how we can really digitize and integrate technology to continue to work during lockdown. So that's the production side. And then I spoke about the marketing and selling points as well, using of the technology. And I think in every aspect, as a business operating in this pandemic, it is vital that we really move outside our comfort zones. Being a handloom company, I mean, for us to completely embrace technology, working from home was a huge, I mean, if not for the pandemic, I think the understanding within our own company would have been, we can never work from home. We can never digitally kind of enable our operations to continue. But the pandemic forced us to do that. And I think we've taken on the challenge quite well. But that is the example also for the SME sector across the board, that we have to embrace new technologies, new kind of options available for us if we are to continue work. And just to close, Shiran, like we work with a lot of women in rural parts of the country, and what we see is during the pandemic that we completely lose them. We don't know what they are doing. We don't know where they are. And we saw during the pandemic, there were horrifying statistics of increasing domestic abuse, increasing child abuse, etc. So it's absolutely vital not just to do business, but to be able to use technology and connect people together, because it's not an option anymore to have this kind of silos operating around us. And naturally, especially in the selling point, platforms such as Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram were vital, and being digitally present via online shops is absolutely vital for any business. So I think as we go along, I can share some of the new ideas that Celine has come up to really integrate our supply chain and to also monitor our kind of the impact of our organization. But I will stop there now, Shiran, and I will just continue the conversation as we go. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks so much, Selena. I think there was some interesting insights which we can, I think, prod a little bit more in our Q&A. I believe the Honorable Minister, State Minister, is online. So can we have you online with your camera and mic on? State Minister, are you there?
Yeah. No. But you want the camera. Right.
I think we can hear you, but we can't see you at the moment. Great, we can see you. Great, we can see you and hear you. Honorable State Minister, welcome to the webinar. We just started a while back and had the two speakers commencing, and we'd like to now hear your address for the participants.
Good morning. We have Mr. Neil, who now is a secretary in our ministry. With regards to the SME sector, I think the government will pose importance on it. And if you see the recent developments, especially with regards to COVID, there was a lot of pressure from outside parties to go in for a total lockdown. But the government was very confident that we could manage it. And also, totally locked down will have a bigger effect on the SME sector as well as the daily earners. So as a result, we have now imposed restrictions and we will continue the support which we have given to the SME sector because the contribution given to the economy by the sector is very important. And unfortunately, I think with the pandemic situation around the world as well as in Sri Lanka, we have not been able to progress the way we wanted to and on the pace that we wanted to. But when we took over office, I think the biggest problem most of the SME sectors had was the financial difficulties. We know the difficulties started in 2000, late 2016 up until 2015. We are very confident and we are happy to say that during the regime of President Mahinda Rajapaksa, the economy was growing. It was growing at a rapid speed, and also the spending power of people was getting higher and higher. And we always marked average economic growth close upon to 6.8%. But thereafter, different governments can have their own different policies. The, the next Yahapalana government which came into power had a different economic policy which I think had a total failure in managing the economy. So by the time we took over the government back in 2019, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, it was at a worse scenario than during the war period. So we wanted to get all our things together, and one thing, the first step we took was making the amendments on the taxes. The taxes, the policy on taxation, even though we saw the opposition criticizing the taxation policy of the government, saying that we have lost revenue. I mean, in the sense the opposition brings in, yes, you can do a calculation. The VAT percentage, it was at 15, brought down to 8, you can calculate this 7% and say this particular amount was lost in terms of revenue. And even the other tax relaxations we did. But our main focus was, rather than the treasury of Sri Lanka collecting the money which is in hand, for that amount to be circulated among the economy itself. So we are very confident, and that was our tax policy. Since then we have not changed it. We have given a pledge saying that for the next 4.5 years, this will be the tax policy of Sri Lanka. So anybody can plan accordingly, and I'm very sure that that has benefited mainly the SME as well as the business community. And then the other decisions we took, we know there was a import restriction, it is still on. Certain people find it difficult, certain people have progressed, but our aim is, especially it has been proved at the moment, that during a pandemic situation, and this will not be the last, there could be certain others coming in the future, but we will have our own production going on. We believe that increasing productivity in Sri Lanka, increasing the FDIs in Sri Lanka will be the only way forward. So there is an impact on the economy. It is a challenging period. We will go through this challenge, and we are very confident within another 2 months' time that we can overcome this third wave, and thereafter, once again, to have full attention on the economy and the other sectors. And with this budget going on, the budget which was presented for 2021 will pump in over 1,000 billion rupees to the market, to the economy. So that will definitely have a boost. We can see the construction industry has once again picked up. We can see the other industries are picking up despite the issues we have at the moment with the pandemic restrictions. And on the other hand, when it came to financial assistance, we had given the working capital loan up to 180 billion. which is at a 4% rate. There are people who have benefited. There are people who had not understood the concept of the working capital, so they wouldn't have been able to take. But we as a ministry, especially the finance ministry, personally got involved in sorting out most of the issues the general public had. And the moratoriums we extended, which is also extended for a further 6 months' time. We believe that it is not the only way out. Giving out moratoriums will have a short-term solution, but not a long-term solution. But I think this is one of the first times in Sri Lanka the government has given a moratorium to this extent. So all sectors we have covered, but we know there is a pressure on the exchange rate, but the exchange rate we are managing now to keep it below 200 rupees. We are with the investments we hope that we'll get with the port city of Sri Lanka. We think there will be a big boost to the economy, and our main focus will be on the SME sector, which contributes almost to 60% of the economy. Apart from that, we have changed certain policies what we had taken initially, especially on food safety. The recent decision taken by His Excellency the President on fertilizer, on chemical fertilizer, I think would pave way for food safety, also to have our own agricultural system in Sri Lanka. I think the way forward looks, we are very clear in our policy. The government is very clear. We will not make changes in our policy. And only thing what we want everybody to understand is we want to have a typical Sri Lankan economy. The economy which is created by our own rather than depending on the imports. There will be restrictions will be released. There will be relaxation of the restrictions. Of course, when we had the main restrictions, over a period of time, we have slowly relaxed these restrictions depending on the requirement we need. So we will relax restrictions, but will ensure that the productivity will increase in Sri Lanka. So there is opportunity for the SME sector, and from the ministry's point of view, we are looking at more into elimination of poverty, and we have some existing programs going on within the country, and we want Samurdhi beneficiaries as well as low income families to get involved with us. We have a workforce of about over 25,000 staff who is on the field dealing with the daily requirements of people. And then we have also looked into the microfinancing issue. The microfinancing issue we know has gone beyond the point at the moment. We have also spoken to the micro companies who are involved in microfinance, which they will come up with a solution. Also, I think it will be a favorable solution to the issue what we have right now. And apart from that, the Samurdhi banking system, we have increased the amount of finances they could give out to the required people. We think it is at a maximum of 7% per annum, with the interest of 7% per annum. So we want most of the SME sectors, this we have internally informed, we want them to be a part of our Samurdhi banking system. There were restrictions in them becoming members of our Samurdhi banks, but we have now totally relaxed all the restrictions they had. So they are free to be a member in the Samurdhi banking system and then to take their finances at a very reasonable rate, which will also be inspected by the Samurdhi officials. So all the SME sectors, we would invite them to be a part of the banking system, which we have. We have over 1,000 branches around the country, and we hope to increase the number of branches, and we have funding to give out. Therefore, we would invite, I think you should carry forward this message the SME sector could be a member of the some of the banks, because that will benefit them to expand their future or existing businesses. So this is what I want to tell you. One thing, the main focus will be on the SME sector, and we as a ministry, we have few programs going on. Our production villages system, elimination of power, where we will get low income earners who has the capability of growing to be a partner with us and to grow strengthen the economy. But we feel the emphasis on this banking system is quite low in the society, because they always feel very comfortable with the other banking systems. But we are very confident that we are one of the banks which give finances at a very low rate, as well as the relaxations of the conditions would pave them a better way of getting access to finance. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Honorable State Minister, for those remarks. I think providing kind of the government framework and how the assistance has been delivered to the SME sector and the rollout, especially the last 12 to 18 months, which have been no doubt very challenging. Minister will keep you online, maybe bring you back into the Q&A discussion. Let me now invite our final speaker to give his introductory remarks. Yasas, do you mind coming online? Yasas is the Policy Programs Manager at Facebook.
Sure. Thanks, Shiran, Honorable State Minister, and the speakers and all the participants. It's an honor to speak at this webinar organized by the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, and Facebook is pleased to work with the ministry, the minister, the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, ICT agency, and other partners in this activity. So as you know, Facebook is about bringing communities together. We are about helping people build communities and helping businesses thrive in that community and build business communities, customer communities. Also is a key part of Facebook's objective. We actually say Facebook is actually in the business of small business, because while large businesses also use and benefit from our platforms, we find that small businesses find it very useful and easy to access markets, and also to keep in touch with their customers and markets through our platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and also WhatsApp. And in recent times, we've seen about 200 million businesses use our apps to do business in various ways. They create shop fronts or kind of customer interfacing shops on the platform, and work with customers, and that number is a staggering 200 million across the world, businesses using our platform. So in this context, we've been very keen and committed to support businesses in Sri Lanka, especially the small businesses, and also budding entrepreneurs, including women entrepreneurs. As Anura mentioned, we have been working with the ICT agency to train small businesses, women entrepreneurs, especially with Sugurulia program, to support them in this area. So one of the things that we see is that people now understand that these digital platforms are important, especially in a pandemic context, for them to do their business and keep in touch with with customers. However, we also feel that the literacy, the digital literacy needed for that is the knowledge and skills needed to use these platforms, is quite low as well. So that's where we try to come in. So while kind of platform helps them facilitating their business, we as staff on the ground in Sri Lanka, we also work with local partners and businesses to help them kind of upskill themselves and start using these tools. So in the recent times, we've just launched a digital Saubhagya program. This is in a way a continuation of what we've been doing for a while, but we wanted to brand it with a local brand name and also continue and expand the work we've done. So with digital Saubhagya in the last 2 months, we have been able to empower and support small businesses on a one-on-one basis. About 1,300 businesses in 15 districts in Sri Lanka. And that really was useful because we were able to go to these small businesses, shops, and wherever they do businesses, sometimes marketplaces, and help them understand how Facebook or Instagram can be used in their businesses. In some cases, about 150 small businesses actually created Facebook pages then and there with our support, and we see them now using the platform to connect with their markets, and in the current context, we are sure that's really helpful. In addition to one-on-one empowerment, we also trained small businesses in Sinhala and Tamil language, about 150 small businesses in the last 2 months. This number is much bigger if you take the last couple of years, the work with ICT agency, but under Digital Saubhagya, that many have been trained. In addition to that, we also showcased few case studies like Selina's company, as well as another business from the northern province of Sri Lanka, Ole, showcasing to other small businesses as to how digital can be used in their journey, because these businesses are using our platforms very effectively in various aspects of their business. As Selina said, it's sometimes not only to reach markets, it's also to keep the connectivity within the company, within the business as well. We also showcased two other businesses as a live discussion on Facebook, and we also did a few newspaper articles to educate people as to how our platforms can be used by small businesses. So this is a kind of a snapshot of what we've done so far, Shiran. But we look forward to working with the government, the chamber, and the other organizations in progressing digital Saubhagya into the next few months as well, and empower small businesses. And as we navigate the current situation, especially with the pandemic, where there are lots of limitations. Although there's no lockdown, and which is good so that the economy can still run, platforms like ours can really help, like to reach markets, to keep the connectivity among the staff as well as the broader communities, etc. So I think this is a period where the society, the businesses will need our support even more than before. So we are committed to providing that support, Shiran.
Thanks, Dr. Asas. So I think we've had all the speakers giving their introductory remarks. So let's get into the Q&A segment, which is open to participants. So please drop in your questions into the chat box. I already see one question coming in. Let me start with some of the remarks from the Honorable State Minister. State Minister, you mentioned a lot about some of the and a few of the other things the government is doing. How do you all hope to link it in terms of kind of the digital overall digital policy of the government? Some of the things that ICTA is also trying to do to ensure that a lot of these loan schemes and a lot of the benefits really go to the ones that really need this support at this time, and some of these SMEs which need to get uplifted. Is there a program in terms of that that's being thought of? And maybe Anura can also link to that to give kind of the ICTA's policy in terms of some of the specific interventions that they are looking to do to uplift the SMEs.
Mainly, you're asking, can I answer that?
Sorry, State Minister, I could hear you.
You asked a question for me or from Honorable?
Yes, Honorable Sir. Just to, I think you laid out the government framework and what it has done. But in terms of the rollout and how do you get digital a bit more involved in kind of the government schemes and assistance schemes? How do you all think about that, and what's the government thinking around that?
Honorable Minister, it's to you. I will follow once you cover.
Digitalization program, I think is already in place. The task force has taken the responsibility of it, and this entire program will be carried forward by the Honorable Minister of Sports and Youth Affairs, Namal Rajapaksa. He has had the initial discussion on this. We will have a digital platform for the entire government sector. I would say this is a much needed platform, and sometimes we could say that we are slightly late also, because digitalization will be the future. Looking at the present conditions and how we are struggling with the present condition. So each department in the government has been given the task of to come up with the proposal of digitalization on their own, as per their requirement. So even on Samurdhi, where we have 81.8 million recipients, we are now in the process of digitalization, and we have surely gone into a we are going into a pilot project also with a couple of our banks, and also His Excellency the President is very keen in that we issue them the digitalized cards, so that there will be very less pressure on people even to get the benefit that the government is giving to them. So this entire program of digitalization will progress from this year, and each department will have to come up with their own plan, what they want to and how they can get the digitalization. And I'm very confident that Honorable Namal Rajapaksa will coordinate this on behalf of the government.
Thank you, sir. Minister.
Shiran, adding to what Honorable Minister said, I can confirm that, like Minister highlighted, there are two aspects of what ICTA is looking for. One is in simple terms, everyone understand citizen convenience, and the other side is doing business. Now, the citizen convenience side is what Honorable Minister was addressing. ICTA is engaging in providing even to the level of court automations, parliament automations, the health systems, etc. So that actually provides the citizen convenience, while the digital economy side work with these multiple entrepreneurs at different levels, small to medium, large scale, providing the platform, guidance, grooming, facilitation, etc. to do business better. Now, what does it both means? Because you might ask, what is the connection between citizen convenience? Of course, if the citizen convenience doesn't in place, example, if the registrar of companies cannot get operate automatically, registering companies are automated, it will be inconvenient for the citizens as well as for the small, medium, large scale businesses. So particularly on this topic, small and medium scale, they are impacted a lot. So citizen convenience that Honorable Minister was addressing, that ICTA is taking a large portion of it, like even the digital identity that also expedited during this COVID period. So Honorable Minister, whole idea was providing that so that the people can do their day-to-day life and business better. The second part of that is, Honorable Minister and the audience, that in the digital economy agenda, one thing that everyone understood is that every small or large or even individual freelancers doing businesses, the digital is the platform. Right now, I mean, I do not have the luxury to go to work, but I have to operate 8 to 10 or 12 hours a day from my home office. But we have to coordinate all the multiple areas with multiple ministries, working with all the ministers and secretaries, because we all realize there is no other way, alternative. So getting to business, I think Yasas, you and your team helped working with us and the small businesses to understand the importance of operating on digital platforms. So social media played a huge role in it, but we won't stop there. We will further train, Shiran, to your question, further train. We are looking at taking this through the digital literacy. We have a target given by His Excellency, the President, in his cabinet paper presented in November, if I'm not mistaken, 2020, mid 2020. That's clearly articulates the citizen literacy and public sector literacy that we are also driving. Through these also, we bring the small businesses plus the citizens using the digital platforms better to do their day-to-day businesses life. Thank you.
Thanks, Anura. Selena, there was a question coming in on the chat box. I don't know if you noticed it, specific to fabric sewn in the homes of workers. If so, how did you manage this? If not, how did you continue factory operations during lockdown? So maybe if you want to take this question and also combine it with how each of the lockdowns have been maybe different and kind of the experiences that you all went through, just not in terms of kind of how you all challenge it, but how maybe some of the entrepreneurs, SMEs on the call can really view some of these challenges as opportunities as well. Maybe you can cover both in one.
Yeah, of course, Shirana. So I'll start with the question. So yes, the fabric masks were sewn in homes in March, in middle of March, April, May, when we couldn't work in the factory. So Celine has been lucky enough to have always adopted what we call a work from village model. So now the whole work from home concept is what's the norm. But we have been promoting a system where our women, who are really largely part of the informal sector of the country, are part of our networks, and we are able to really give them the working model to work from home. So Shiran, so if I can elaborate that for a minute. So we do have a factory, but we have a very flexible model where women can take work home, so they can drop their children off in school. They can work for a couple of hours, pick their child up, go home. So that's one model. Then they can set up themselves completely at home as individual home workers. They can make their own groups at home. And then for those women who really want to take the groups from home and create it into a business, we enable that as well. So the whole, for us, the challenge is, of course, when we get large export orders, the whole efficiency. That's why we need the factory, right? But because our home workers were kind of home groups were active, for us to shift into mass production quite fast it was challenging because of the health restrictions and the travel restrictions, but not necessarily in terms of production. But we did have concerns about health, sanitation, hygiene, and all the rest of it, which we overcame through various processes during that time. So I think that is where we are now. So that was the first lockdown when we didn't really understand how to continue operations. But very fast, my production team, who I really have to give kudos to right now, who were complaining to me that they can never move a factory setting into homes, and we're really trying to promote a larger kind of factory operation to meet the efficiency levels needed, have completely now innovated to what we call the gate pass system, where now even the factory line, the entire production line is working from homes. So we are fine tuning it as we go. So while so there's a master production plan that is able to really work from homes in villages. So I think it's I think for the artisan industry, that is the future. Even for the garment industry, maybe it is the future, and we'll be working on that model. So whereas in the first we were scared, we didn't know, we had to kind of really do what it took. Now we are more organized and we are prepared, and we understand that if we don't pivot our operations, if we don't change, and if we are still talking about what we did 30 years ago, we are not really going to be a success story as we go. We will just be another failed model. So that is in terms of the question and how we approached it. And if I may little bit add on what you asked me, Shiran, I think at the start we thought this was, I mean, it was never temporary, but we felt there could be an end date next year. But then next year came, and now we don't see an end to this. And to be very honest, all the readings that we get, I am quite worried. Like, I think there's going to be huge discrimination for our countries. Sorry, that's my daughter. Working from home, I'm going to get to that. So I think there's going to be a big discrimination on us. Okay, Dad. Sorry, guys. So I think that's going to be a huge discrimination to our region of the world because of the vaccinations. South Asia is going to be hit. I mean, we are India as far as everyone's concerned for the rest of the world. And I think there's going to be a problem for us and our economy as we go. And we have to acknowledge those things. So if you really dissect it to the ground, and I'm going to talk here, Shiran, on two topics which I feel are really important: the working from home. You know, it was quite sexy maybe for a Colombo based audience to think about working from home. You have the luxury of an office space, you have the luxury of a home where you can isolate yourself. You probably have maids around you who are going to support you, you know. But for a girl who's working at home from a village, I'm not talking about an artisan, I'm talking about an executive level girl, she's finding it very hard. My management staff is very finding it very hard. Her husband doesn't understand why she's on the phone with other men. Her mother-in-law doesn't understand why she's on a front of a screen working when she should be helping out in the kitchen. So I think these are realities of this working from home situation that we haven't really understood in the rural parts of the country. And I think this entire situation, as much as it's works for some women like me to be able to balance and work from home, I think we'll find a big drop in women in the labor force in the rural parts if we are not able to really enable them and educate those around them about working from home. So Yasas, how can digital help? How can a medium like Facebook help pass these messages, not just in terms of the services you provide, but being a community, a platform? How can you make working from home uh, acceptable in that sense? I think is something that we really need to think about. And then on the other end, you have, I mean, these are not necessarily connected, but I also see a huge gap is that while we have financial assistance, my SME has banks. I can go to a bank and get a loan. We are a 30-year-old business. My mother is a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. I speak perfect English. We have the privilege in society, but that is not the case for a lot of SMEs, especially micro SMEs in the country, especially led by women. So I think, respectfully, even the working capital loans, which enabled us to have a good cash flow and enabled us to really continue in business, how many SMEs were able to access it? I mean, this is not necessarily a digital question, but I think there is a real need to look at this because you will find SMEs, especially women-led SMEs, falling in the kind of periphery. And I know ICTA has done a lot of work connecting the government kind of system, service delivery, all of that. But I think there's a very strong need for the country to be mapping our vulnerable groups. And when I say vulnerable, it's not only the disabled communities or the elderly communities. There's vulnerabilities in each segment, and I think digital has a huge role to bring this kind of system together, not only in terms of SME development, but also how you connect to kind of delivery of essential services. So I spoke that day at the prep, and this is my final point about how Celine has just embarked on a project to integrate blockchain technology into our supply chain. So just simply using mobile technology and connecting it with an advanced technology such as blockchain, how do we map our supply chain, which will enable us to be more efficient working from homes, working from villages, and at the same time, how do we use the same technology to measure our impact, to stay connected to our networks. And I think there's potential there. If you, I mean, I know small company, but the same technology is something that doesn't discriminate, I think, sometimes between big and small. The technology can apply it across the board. So I think innovation here, finally, what I have to say is innovation is the key. But you have to understand the problem. The problems of this era is totally different from what we face. At Celine, what we say is, if we want to do something now, we have to ask ourselves 2 times, can we do this during COVID? It's the usual thing to promote white garments during Vesak, you know, but can we do this during COVID? Because no one's going to temple. So, I mean, we are in a habit. We humans are in a habit, and we have to question ourselves, understand the problem correctly, and innovate if we want to, as a country, really take on this crisis. That's what I wanted to say. Sorry for the extended answer, Shiran.
No, no worries, Celine. I think you covered some of the questions I had as well. Just taking off from what you said and in terms of the next steps, because we are almost towards the end of the webinar, and maybe we can get that in this final round. Yourself hearing from Selena, and you've seen the Digital Saubhagya program roll out in the last few months. What are some of these next steps that Facebook and maybe I'll ask that from Anura in terms of what some of the other gaps for other platforms should fill in. But specifically, maybe for Facebook, what's next in this digital Saubhagya journey, and how are you all hoping to roll out any new tools? Because as Celine mentioned, it's a whole new landscape, and working from the village. And I think that's key metric for your own success and for this program as well, to see how those social issues are also tackled more than even some of the economic issues. So how is Facebook hoping to approach this?
Thanks, Shiran. So we definitely want to continue digital Saubhagya and also address some of the things that we learn as we go. I mean, the thing that Selena just raised about accepting working from home and the attitudes around it. I think we have not addressed these things before. I think Anura would agree the work we've done with ICTA is partly attitude changing, but it's also mostly skills, providing skills. But I think underlying there's a need to change how people think about things as well. So we will take these things on board, and as we kind of expand the program with Ceylon Chamber of Commerce and ICT agency, we will certainly take these things into consideration, and especially around attitudes. Selena, we probably can work with some of the civil society organizations, and I will loop you in if we can kind of develop some messaging around this, because we provide the platform, but we work with partners to kind of get the messages out. I mean, we don't develop the messages ourselves, but we can certainly input things from what we learn from the work we do. I also wanted to mention in terms of tools. I mean, most of the basic things in on our platforms are used quite effectively by some parts of the SMB segment. But as I said, there's a long journey there. But some of the newer tools, like say Facebook Jobs tool, is very easy to pick, kind of staff up, especially at a time like this where people may be looking for more jobs. Some may have even lost jobs, and you might not find them on newspapers or some of the other platforms, but they're using Facebook. And Facebook Jobs tool is actually free of charge for employers to reach out to employees, and it will show the users who potentially are employees jobs available in a certain radius. Say if someone was looking for jobs in Anuradhapura, and they can look for jobs in a 5-kilometer radius in Anuradhapura or in Kurunagala in Selena's interest. So these are some of the tools that people can use. So I know there was a question on the chat about payments. We don't have plans yet to launch payments in Sri Lanka. It's WhatsApp payments are trial in India at the moment, so we don't have plans. But there are other tools, other things that are not explored. So we hope people will use, and we also take the responsibility of educating people about those, because people can't kind of automatically get to know these things as well. So we also have a responsibility. So we will work on that. Thank you, Shiran.
I do a quick response, Yasas and Shiran and Honorable Minister, Selim, in the interest of time. Shiran, you can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so three things I want to quickly highlight in response to what Yasas and Celine brought and for everyone's information. So ICTA started this Suhuruliya program in 2016 with United Nations Asia Pacific Center for Information and Communication Technology. And part of that, we developed a guide for women to do business. So that basically covers security aspects and their social. When they on the social media, we know, Celine, you did not spoke about it, but another aspect is their security and their privacy. There are many other things that social media can do to harm a female or a woman, particularly compared to men, at least in this society. So that guide was developed to even support them, not only just how a woman is start working at home, but also to bring that framework. So how we are protected doing social media business. That also covered, so that when we did this program for 1,500 females so far, training them, they have been trained in Jaffna and Colombo to understand. I must mention Jaffna, Honorable Minister, because sometimes people think we do only this in Colombo centric. So that purpose I mentioned is for Jaffna and Colombo 1,000 train, and we further train, particularly on how to do business on social media securely. When I say securely, not about payment, but their privacy side. And the second part I want to bring is the spiralation that we conduct. Now, last year we gave, again, I bring two examples from Jaffna. One is Ole. Ole is a company that does a girl, because I'm also coming from 30 years in the industry. I'm still in the industry while doing my role in ICTA. So the Ole is a company that does palm-based products, handicraft. And that product, that owner or the entrepreneur was funded by us to bring it on the digital media, doing her business. And the second example is there was a girl we found in, again, Kilinochchi area, I guess, who's doing business pharmaceutical, the prescribed medicine delivery on WhatsApp. And we again funded her to bring that business. So this is helping women who are operating. And this Ole lady is operating, just giving businesses like you do, Celine. It's just about communities bringing the handicrafts, and she's collecting and selling. So we provided funding to build the platform, so long as she does the same and multiply that. Again, for pharmaceuticals, that is delivery, we funded and we helped and groomed her to build an architecturally sound platform, so she can do pharmaceutical delivery through the platform without WhatsApp. That is, while in the pandemic also, she delivered with bicycles, with the people on the village, deliver the bicycle, use the bicycles and deliver, and she does the coordination and consultation orders. That's the second point I want to bring. That platform provide funding, spiralation. Right now, there is a round going. I invite everyone, even villagers, apply for that. We support not only funding, but grooming, everything. Third one is Data Protection Act. That's something also important that we produced, and now it's being presented. I invite everyone to read, whoever can read. If you can't read, join us towards the end of the month. We will be interpreting how data protection is important while you're doing digital business. That is not for individuals only, but for everyone in the country, because we have to take to the next era. I think all in all, we work very closely with the minister. I look forward to work with Honorable Minister Mo, close in the microeconomies, as well as Yasas. We have been working together. And Celine, we need your support as a speaker, both from business and women's perspective. We look forward to do much bigger prosperity and development and align to His Excellency's agenda. Thank you.
Thanks, Anura. So I think we heard from all the speakers. Maybe if I can get the State Minister to close. State Minister, are you there?
Sorry, Mr. Shiran, I have a small question to the State Minister. Can I ask him?
Could you make it quick? It will be the last one as well.
Yeah, I'm from Particular District Chamber of Commerce. Some of our SMEs have come and complained to us. The state banks, even the private banks, they are not encouraging the people who have age of 60 years to get this Saubhagya loan facility, low risk loan facility, although they have a property in their own name. Is there any restriction on the age limit for the Saubhagya loan facility?
Thanks, Mr. Dasan. So that was, I think, State Minister, a very specific question on the Saubhagya scheme. Maybe through your office, maybe we can get a reply from you later on.
I think I'll have to check on that. Let me check on that and come back to you.
Sure. State Minister, anything you want to say in closing as we close this session up?
If there's anything we can be in touch, just drop us a mail. We will be happy to be a part of it and assist the operations what you have to do.
Sure. Thanks. And I think that will be the next step also, through this linking the key policymakers together and the practitioners so that we can really plan the next stage of the digital Saubhagya plan as well. So thank you to everyone, to all our speakers, Honorable State Minister, to Anura from ICTA, Dr. Yasas from Facebook, and Selina from Celine as well. Thank you to all the participants who tuned in. We will definitely put up this recording so that more people can really access it, listen to it, because I think there were a lot of interesting insights, things that maybe the government and the agencies are doing, which maybe not a lot of people are knowing about, and things that some of the SMEs are really struggling with, but maybe not getting the due attention as well. So hopefully we can continue this conversation, and the conversation will turn into action as well. Until you tune into another webinar at the Chamber, very good morning to everyone, and have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks, Shiran. Thanks all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Shiran.
Thank you, everyone.